Hello and welcome to the first video in our How to Paint Space Marines series. First up, we're going to take a look at this Ultramarine Sergeant. We are going to be working from a zenithal prime of white over black here, followed up by an overall spray of Ultramarines blue from Vallejo. It's probably easier for you just to pick up a rattle can of Ultramarine blue or equivalent and go for there if you're doing an army, but this is what I have here, so that's what I'm going to use. Next up, we're going to be using some Eshin Grey to pick out all of the under armour. This is in the joints, the back of the knees, the armpits, the crook of the elbow, etc. We then hit the helmet with a base coat of Mephiston red. It should cover nicely over the blue, but if you do need to add a second coat at this point to ensure you're working from a nice rich red, then please do so. Okay, we can then apply a base coat of Barak burgandy to the wax on the purity seals, as well as the decorative rope you find on the shoulder pad. This has to be one of my favourite colours in the Citadel range, and I do try to get it in most of my models where I can. Next up, we're going to tackle the weapon strap, the majority of the bolt gun, and the belt around the waist with Vallejo black. We're swapping to Vallejo for the blacks because I quite like the matte finish that it provides. I find that Abaddon black from Citadel can sometimes be a little bit satiny in its finish, so I prefer the Vallejo. Then it's on to some Retributor armour. I'm going to use this to pick out the shoulder trim as well as the chest eagle. Leadbealcher next for our decorative skulls. You can find those on the shoulder as well as on the helmet, and we're also going to cover the metal areas of the bolt gun, any visible clasps for the gun strap, the helmet gubbins, and the vents on the backpack. You can then use Celestra Grey to pick out the right knee pad. If your grey is anything like mine, I had to use 2 thin coats here to get the right coverage. Rakarth Flesh is used then to base coat the parchment areas. You can find these on the purity seals as well as some of the bolt guns. We're going to base coat the lenses in the helmet next with Caliban Green. Apologies for the dodgy camera angle here. Apparently it's hard to get a good shot when doing the eyes. Just try to be neat with this, and if you do make any mistakes, cover up with the Mephiston red. Okay, next step is to cover the entire model with a gloss varnish, ready for the next step. The one I use is Vallejo acrylic gloss, and you can see in the spinny shot that this will make our model all shiny. And now that your varnish is all dry, we're going to use some panel liner black from Tamiya. Essentially this is going to be used to recess shade or panel line the entire model. The gloss varnish helps to reduce the surface tension, and the panel liner will just run into all the deep areas of the model. It can look a bit messy sometimes, but don't worry, we get to fix that in the next step. Okay, on to cleanup. We're going to use some Q-tips or cotton buds, depending on where you're based, and some Sansador thinner from Winsor & Newton here. Essentially, we're just going over cleaning up any of the excess panel line enamel that we have used in the places that we don't want it to be. So clean up, this is basically to personal taste, so clean up as much or as little as you like. This is a perfect point to apply any decals you may want to add to your models, as the next step is essentially covering it up with the matte varnish. Again, I use the one from Vallejo. Okay, once that's all dry, then we're going to hit up the gold and parchment areas with a Seraphim sepia wash to add some depth to these bits. Okay, back to the eyes. This time we're going to use some Warpstone glow, looking to cover about 90% of the Caliban Green from before. I promise I do get better with the eye angles on camera eventually. We're then going to take a mix of Warpstone Glow and Moot Green and try to paint a line across the top of the lens about 70% along, and then another on the lower part of the lens about 50% of the way along. You're looking to kind of make a V shape with the point of the V towards the front of the helmet. Okay, so I did get better. The last bit for the eyes is essentially just some Moot Green dotted in the corner towards the front of the helmet. Highlighting the helmet next, we're going to take some Evil Sunz Scarlet and edge highlight everything. All the vents, all the raised areas, you get the idea. Next, we will then use a mix of Evil Sunz Scarlet and Tau Light Ochre to pick out some select edges and corners on the helmet, just to help emphasize these bits further. Next, we're going to edge highlight the bolt gun, the strap, and the belt using some Dark Reaper. Try to keep it as thin as possible on the edges, and you should be golden. Now for the lengthy bit that I'm sure you've all been looking forward to, we are going to edge highlight all of the blue armor panels using Calgar blue. The trick to this is to take your time, angle your brush against all of the edges you can, and then drag them across. This should give you a uniform thin line on all of the edges. Those that you can't do this to, essentially you just have to try and paint a really thin, clear line using the edge of your using the brush. Just take your time and clean up any areas with the blue color from before. Okay, we're then going to take some Fenrisian Grey and just pick out some of the more prominent edges to help emphasize those bits further. Focusing on the purity seals and the ropes next, we're going to take some Screamer Pink and pick out the raised parts of the wax seals and the bumps on the rope. Next, we're going to take some Retributor armour and use these to paint over the gold areas. This will help to bring back some of the shine that was lost from using the matte Varnish, but you do want to leave the darker sepia areas in the recesses. We're then going to take some Stormhost silver and use that to highlight these areas, again focusing on the raised edges, the tips of the feathers, that kind of thing. Lastly, we're going to use some Wildwood contrast paint and use this to create some text on our purity seals by simply tapping the brush in a line along these. I then also tried to freehand some text on the bolter parchment, but I'm not 100% happy with how it turned out. I need more practice there. And there you have it, a clean looking Ultramarine Sergeant without too much difficulty. Obviously make sure to base your model to fit the rest of your army. If you have enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment below if you found something useful in the video. I do have more of these planned for the other founding chapters, as well as a few others, so do let me know which of those you would like to see next in the comments below. Take it easy, and I'll catch you on the next one.